Hello, everyone, and welcome back to From the Ground Up. My name is Carmen Milagro. I'm a CBD educator. I am the founder of Divina Skincare and Botanicals and your host for the show. I have a really special interview conversation planned to share with you today, and I can't wait to bring on the guest. But just a little bit of information about the show. It's designed to really share with you, the audience, various strategies and tips that entrepreneurs, musicians, artists, captains of industries, investors, people in the medical field, just different strategies and different philosophies that may help you on your journey. It's part of this whole process that I believe successful transformation. It starts from the truth about your work life. Right? It's balance from the ground up and from the inside out. And is work-life balance truly possible? Some people say it is. Other people say, not so much. You can't have it both ways. There is a philosophy out there from some of the great, investors and great people of industry, leaders. And there's one in particular that says you cannot have scalability and huge growth in your business if you are not taking care of your balance in life. So let's dig into this a little bit deeper and see what we learned today. So my guest today, I'm super excited, as I mentioned before, is someone that I actually met via another interview when he interviewed me. And then subsequently, we were able to actually meet in person in the last few weeks. The first time that we got to meet each other in person was at Frank McKinney's Aspire book launch. And we were both there. We got to take a photo together. And then the second time was just last week. What are we here? The first week of December. And we were able to reconnect in person at another event at a conference, and it's called Mega Success for those of you that want to look it up. But that's kind of our history, and so here we are today. I am really excited to introduce you to coach, mentor, public speaker. He's a real estate investor. He's known as the mobile home millionaire, and his name is Jose Garcia. Jose, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited to do this because when we were doing your interview, I said, one of these days I'm going to have you on my show. And here we are. It's a lot sooner than I had planned. That's what makes it so exciting. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Jose, I wanted to sort of start with this question because I like to talk about the different strategies that people have for their business. So in order to do that, I thought perhaps you could give us a more in-depth detail of what you do and why you do it. And then we'll get into that other facet.
Okay, absolutely. Yes. So I am, like Carmen said here, I'm a real estate investor. I invest in more so the hidden side of real estate, which is considered mobile homes. It's a very low risk, low entry, and high rewards type of niche where it's still housing in a sense, but it's not considered real estate. So it's a lot more affordable, if you will, and it is considered affordability housing. I started 7 years ago with one individual mobile home, and it really was more out of I didn't have money. I didn't have money. I didn't have connections. I didn't have any way sources of. When people presented me quotations, good deals, that might have been good deals, but 50, 60,000 was not something I had. And again, no connections. So I knew no way of getting any of this. So I thought, well, maybe this is just not for me. I stumbled upon mobile homes and thought, well, I can do the same thing here. Now, looking back, I did overpay for the mobile home as well, but in comparison to the real estate, it was a lot cheaper. So I was able to get in and start doing basically the same thing, rehabbing them. And I wanted to be a landlord. For whatever reason, I wanted to be a landlord. And I became a landlord. I made it happen. So I ended up rehabbing my very first mobile home myself. Very early stages, I realized that the hardest workers, contractors, and I'm talking bad about them, are also people who don't like to work, apparently. So I stopped trying to hire more people and went in, and I just did the job myself. Got it done, got it inspected, permitted. It was good to go. That first year, I ended up doing 9 more. And by the end of the year, I had 10 rentals up and going. So from there, it just started kind of growing. And when you talk about exit strategies, I don't know for every business, I'm sure there's many for, but for mobile homes have a lot more exit strategies than real estate per se. For one, a mobile home is mobile. Therefore, we're able to move them around. And that's one of many exit strategies that we use is that we rent them out, we flip them. We finance many times when we do a rent to own per se. We do provide affordability housing to people. So that's always that win-win that we can provide a home to somebody that they consider theirs soon after 3-4 years, because that's what the numbers look like. So it's just been a whole 7 years of growing. And then somewhere in there, I decided that I wanted to coach people how to do this. I guess I got asked repeatedly, how do you do this? How do you do that? I figured, well, let me start teaching people how to do such. And from there, I became a coach and mentor to many people. And I've coached over 200 students. I call them students at this time. So we've done that. We've done over 500 transactions with mobile homes and growing. Our goal, we're covering the whole southeast of beautiful USA, but our goal within the next 5 years is nationwide.
That's incredible. From not having the experience learning as you go, doing it yourself, to now you have a university, don't you?
So we have the coaching program. We have two sides of the business. One side is the investing side, and then we have Garcia MHQ, which is that's where people can sign up and get coached, get mentored. We can help them, assist them in any questions they may have. Got
it. One of the questions that I would imagine you get quite often is, there used to be, it seems like everything is changing, but didn't there used to be a stigma about being a mobile home owner?
Still is, still there.
There still is.
And we like it there. We like it there because I say I have contributed to 7 years ago. Nobody knew of mobile homes, it seemed like. Now, I know there was investors out there, but it was very low key. But when I would go to local RIAs, real estate meetups, whatever, and I would talk mobile homes, they would look at me like, what are you talking about, kind of thing. So I was like, okay. Since then, and I contribute because I coach many people. There's a flipper, wholesaler, bird, all kinds of investors in mobile homes. It has grown. But the stigma, like I tell people, is I don't think it'll ever go away. It has that kind of, and it's much like real estate. You have your communities. Real estate has its very nice areas, and in some areas where you probably don't want to find yourself at. Well, the same with mobile home parks. Some parks are very, very nice, and some are stay away from. It is what it is. That's the market, the way it works. But yeah, I mean, the stereotype, it keeps, I think, the market from getting over congested.
Right. I hadn't thought of it that way. It's a plus for you, basically.
In a way, sure.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Well, part of being an entrepreneur, right, is looking at things from all these different angles to create your path, to create like what you've done, your niche.
Sure.
What strategies, if you don't mind, maybe just like the top 3 strategies when you're coaching and mentoring someone, what are the top 3 things for someone like me, for example, who I'd never even thought of this as a potential investment avenue? What are the top 3 things that you start off with?
Well, we teach you what mobile homes are, the meaning of. We teach you how to find leads. That's the very first step. Is if you don't have leads, you don't have anything. A lot of investors like to build their systems, have accounts, LLCs, all this, and they haven't found one deal, and they usually don't. And that's because they're wasting their time doing so many things instead of getting that one first deal and actually trying it out. Maybe it isn't for you. So why start all these accounts and stuff if it's not going to work out per se? Now, I can't say I've ever had somebody say mobile homes are not for me. But, I would start out with that, teach them how to find the actual deals and teach them how the markets work. Because even though it is, in a sense, real estate, the numbers are very different.
Sure. And I suspect this keeps you pretty busy because you're doing this for yourself as like you said, you've got one side of the business and then you're also teaching. Like what percentage would you say that you're working on these projects for yourself and then you're also teaching and you've got the other side of this business?
Yeah, so teaching wise, we've lowered it down a bit. We did get overloaded a while, and what we're trying to create is more so of a one-time call a week kind of thing and have everybody together, because it can get very overloaded. Yes, and one thing we don't have enough of, I just keep saying it, is time. There's not enough time. So, so I would say in a week's time, probably 10% will be for coaching now.
Right. And you're streamlining it, right? Which is part of the entrepreneurial process. You're going to try something and implement what is it that we're always being told ourselves? speed of implementation, and then you tweak as you go. Because if you never execute, then you're never going to get to where you need to get to. I love the fact that you are taking something that you've learned and that you're mentoring and coaching people. I think that that's really important with, especially, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for us to share our knowledge and our experiences, especially with people in our communities. Because if we don't do that, right, and we don't take the time to teach others. I work with young people primarily, and you're working with folks who want to go down the same business route or similar business route as you. I think that's really tremendously important. So, kudos to you for also doing that, because that's how you are as a leader. And when you're a leader in your industry, then, people follow.
There you go. Well said. Yes, ma'am. I think so. I think it is our job as once we know certain education, it is for us to teach others and keep contributing back to, up and coming per se. So I would agree with that.
It's also just putting, investing in our good karma, right? The good karma bank.
Well, there you go. That too. I didn't think about it that way, but yes, that's good.
You're also a father, and you're a husband, and you're building this business, and you're working on this, 24/7. How do you juggle all of it? Like, do you have some, I know you have business strategies, you have investment strategies. Do you have any specific like wellness strategies? How do you take care of yourself so that you can continue to grow and stay on top of your game?
Absolutely. Yes. So I've slowed down a little bit since I started. There was once upon a time where I went about 4 years. I've been in this business for 7 years. In the first 4 years, it was 24/7, year in, year out. Christmas, holidays, it didn't matter. I was working. So it worked out. But of course, I am married. So that caused a little tension there, as I'm sure it does anywhere. You just, like you mentioned earlier, you have to be balanced to the best of. And we don't always do the best at, but you keep learning and trying and you keep going. Now working a little bit less, meaning that I take my Saturday, for instance, and create that for the family. But I do keep in mind health. That's one thing that from very early on, now years ago, many, many years ago, I was a personal trainer. So it kind of has always stuck with me to eat right, drink enough water, and exercise. You have to have it. So every day, 5 to 6 days a week, when I'm in the office, especially around 3 or 4 o'clock, regardless of where I'm at, I come to a stop and I take myself to the gym for a good hour workout. Come back, I can work a few more hours, and it's a good break. But it's one of those where you have to get it done, because if I skip that, I can sit in that desk all day, and I have 6 in the morning. I look up and it's 10 o'clock at night. That's not healthy.
Right. I love the fact that you are so aware. Obviously, it's inherent. It's a part of your makeup, right? You were a personal trainer, so you know the importance of all that. What about and along those same lines, what about the importance of, let's dive into a little bit deeper, if you don't mind, the nutritional aspect. Are there supplements that you believe in? Are there certain foods that you avoid? Because that's all a part of that wellness strategy, right?
So I bodybuild. I did my last show a few months ago, and I have another one coming up mid-summer next year. So my nutrition is more so that type, a little more hardcore, if you will. Very low carbs, high proteins, not the healthiest, but it's good. It's what we have to do. But definitely to stay healthy, I mean, the same balance. You have to have a balanced diet. You have to eat multiple times a day. I hear too many times people, I eat 1 time a day. That is horrid in every way. You have to have small meals. I'm not trying to personal train at this time, but you have to.
No, I appreciate that because I'm aware of it. But like you said, when you're in it, sometimes I look up and I'm just like, oh, I did it again. I'm really trying to break that habit. So
yeah. Well, nobody's going to make you successful, and nobody's going to take care of your health. So it is up to you to engage and make sure you're well aware of what's happening in those 2 departments.
And what about your mental health, your spiritual health, your just all of that? Because isn't that part of everything?
Very, very. About 8 months ago, I started going to church more regularly. Now, I went to church many times with my parents, but it was more of the motion kind of thing. I was just there because my parents took me there. Whereas now I've taken on because I realized the importance of absolutely prayers. And it's every Sunday I have to go to church. Is that refresh again kind of thing? So all in all is one giant balance that you have to have a little bit of all these things to make it work.
I love the fact that you brought that up because I think that is a factor that a lot of people aren't aware of, or they don't identify it as part of their wellness strategies, part of their wellness philosophy.
Mhm.
Do you do anything like meditation or anything like that?
I don't. I should. Every morning at 6 in the morning, I do cardio and I read my Bible. But I've got to get into the meditation. I've heard Tony Robbins say it many times. And my excuse is a horrible one. I don't have the time, which is not a good reason. But I will. I'm working on that as well.
Right, right. Well, I mean, we can't get everything all 100%
Mhm.
all at once, right? It's learned behaviors, it's changing.
Sure.
I think it's something that when I'm working with young people, I
Mhm.
hope that I am sharing these wisdoms with them so that they can incorporate them earlier and learn it earlier than I did.
Right.
But you also can't beat yourself up for things that, you know,
Right.
sometimes you're gonna get right on it, you're gonna jump on that bike and you're gonna take off, and then other times it's gonna take a few attempts. But one of the things that I've learned for me personally in that whole sort of mental wellness, mental well-being is don't beat yourself up for anything. Just do better next time. Be aware of it, remind yourself, incorporate tools, and there's apps for all kinds of things now. So certainly somebody invented an app to remind you to take a 10-minute meditation break, right? If we want the answers, they're out there. And a lot of times the answers are just like what we're doing, just talking about it. I mean, you've really kind of reminded me of a lot of things here. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
um, if do you think that whole work life balance is truly possible? Or do you think it's something that we're just constantly going to have to strive for? I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. I'm just curious.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, well, one, I think that both husband and wives, they need to be on the same page. Because if you have one that doesn't understand it, that could be an issue right away.
That's,
And that's the reason why I get a lot of people who want to invest. Yeah, but my wife's not so this, or I'm not listing names, of course, but it's one of
sure.
those where them having to sacrifice another 1 hour or 2 hours a day can mean an issue in the home life. So, can it be done? I think so. I have not mastered that by any means. I'm still working on it, but
Cool.
it's all about balancing and just putting certain times a day. Where there's also certain time in my day where it's family time, it's family dinner. Phone is off. If it rings, it rings. It is what it is. But it's my family time. So priorities. I think we just need to learn how to prioritize what's most important and go from there.
That's perfect. I'm so glad because that's the perfect segue for what I was thinking is, a lot of times, as I mentioned before, there's all these tools that we use to organize our day. And if we incorporate and prioritize those things that are important to us that we deem, and everyone is different, there's
Right.
no right or wrong way to do this because we're all uniquely ourselves. So our systems or our processes are going to be or need to be uniquely designed for ourselves. But
Right.
if we prioritize, hey, I'm going to schedule this, 30-minute walk in the morning and
Mhm.
do an hour and a half or 2 hours every day for a walk. But if it's important enough for me, and I'm not great at it either, but I can break it down and
Right.
schedule them in smaller time frames, which are more manageable, and then I don't feel so stressed about being away from the phone or the computer.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's right. I mean, it's really important, I think, for us to realize that it's what our priorities are that help
Hmm.
us to make those choices, to find or seek that balance. And not everyone is designed the same way. If you were to say, like to your students, for example, if someone's really struggling with there's a lot of single moms or single
Mhm.
dads, and they are the sole provider and they're the caretaker for
Right.
their children. How do you help, or are you able to coach them through that kind? Because to me, that seems like that's when you are not in a partnership, with your husband, your wife, your significant other, and you don't have that help. It must exasperate that whole, scheduling and trying to find balance even more so. And I'm wondering if you have encountered that and what sort of advice that you may have given someone in that type of situation.
I mean, yes, people will always do what's most important for them, period. So, like you said, you have to prioritize and plan ahead. I'll plan the day before for the next day. So, here in the next 30 minutes, I will go ahead and plan my entire day for tomorrow. So, there's no surprise. I don't wing it. I don't guess. I know what I have to do all throughout the day. Even though most of my Mondays are the same, I still like to write it down because I think I like scratching lines on it. It makes me feel good. Accomplish,
Mhm.
accomplish, accomplish kind of thing. But
Yes.
as far as somebody being a single parent with kids, I've only had maybe a couple ladies who had a couple kids, and we coach them a little later. I am in the office throughout the week, Monday through Thursday, typically up to sometimes 11, and I will coach up to sometimes 9:30 in the evening, 30-minute coaching calls. Now, I know there is, and I use this example. I can never recall that lady's name, but there's a lady from Cincinnati, or I don't recall. Long story short, she had 7 kids and she is killing it in real estate. She jumped in, she would put the kids to sleep, and she would go to work. If you want it bad enough, you will make it happen.
How do you address the question that comes up sometimes when someone is just unsure? They've got all these ideas to do something,
Mhm.
and let's say they go to you. How do you determine when this person they've got their wellness, strategies, they're
Mhm.
working on their investment strategies and their learning strategies, um, but how do you tap into if this is really the right path for them? Do you, as part of your coaching, is that something that you do? The reason I'm asking is because when
Mhm.
I'm working with young people, a lot of times I've noticed that I have to go outside of the realm of just teaching basic fundamental, principles to really see if their heart and passion is in it so that they will do the work. And sometimes I can't coach someone. You and I talked about this in our interview. Some people are uncoachable. And
Yes.
how are you able to determine that pretty quickly, because your time is valuable?
Mhm.
You can move on and help someone who really wants it.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, yes, not everybody's going to buy. And unfortunately, not everybody's going to take action. We've seen some of those. I've had some quotation students who kind of start 1 or 2 lessons and they're going to jump onto the first deal. They're ready for it, et cetera, et cetera. A year later, they're still, yep, they're ready. They're waiting. So you can't force anybody to do something they don't want to do. And if fear's what is driving them, I don't know that you can really convince them. I mean, you can play mini scenarios with them, and that's what I do. One of the first things that I always show people is numbers, because regardless of what investment you're getting into, if the numbers shake out and they work out and you can see here's my investment and here's my returns, it's a no-brainer. But it doesn't mean people will take initiative in such. So, I can pretty much, as I'm talking to them on the first call, I can tell how serious they're going to be. And I mean, most people just don't sign up for the second coaching usually. So at that point, we will do follow-ups with them and try to get them back in. But it's one of those where it's time to, let's go ahead and get another student.
Right, right. It's amazing how that when you are working it to your optimum level, right? You are killing it and you're crushing it in business.
Mhm.
You are taking care of your mind, body, and spirit. Do you find, for me, for example, I find that when I'm the most creative is when I am really feeding my soul, when I am taking care of myself physically. And I was in a car accident a long time ago, and
Mhm.
as you know, I'm in the skincare world, which is hemp
Right.
CBD. So that is a part of my. This is without fail every day. I That is what works for me, and everybody's different. For me, one of those things that I've realized is that because I'm feeding my soul creatively, it
Mhm.
allows me to be much more creative and flexible in business. And
Mhm.
those types of sort of the whole package, right, of everything, the physical, the mental, everything. What would you say if you can prioritize A, B, or C, or do you prioritize in any specific order? Is it the physical that you prioritize first? Is it, how do you, for yourself, how do you define those strategies in the
Yes,
order?
I got to have them all. If I wake up one day and I need to get rushing and I don't read my Bible, for instance, I sense it throughout the day. There's something there that it's just not a good feeling. So it's been times when I got to go read my Bible real quick. So it's a routine and it's something that helps me. So that along with so that would be number one. Number two is usually the workload. Let's go ahead and jump on the workload throughout the day. And like I said, 3, 4 in the afternoon, that's where I decide that now it's time for me to get a physical workout as well. I've been sitting in the chair for 8, 9 hours, whatever that is. And it's time for me to go. Let's get that blood flowing as well. Let's go drink some more water. Let's exercise. And then we can go. I've skipped the workout. And by 5, 6 o'clock, I was not in a good mood. So
I think that, yeah, like we've said many times, it's just different for everyone. And I'm always fascinated how they are, in my opinion, they're all integrated. They're all priorities. They just shift sometimes. Sometimes for me, the physical is more important than the mental well-being or the meditation or taking the time to smell the roses, because it depends on what the needs of the day, the clients,
right.
The people the kids that I'm working with. It's really fascinating how it all works together for me. And I do agree with you. I think there is such a thing as balance. It's just not always what we think it's going to look like. It's not always just one cookie cutter application, because yes, we try to schedule our days. Yes, we try to be organized, but there's a lot of things that come as an entrepreneur in whatever business. There's a lot of things that come flying at us that we didn't plan for, right? So if you're at the top of your game of taking care of yourself in every facet as best you can without beating yourself up, I think we've got a really good chance of continuing to stay on top, to be operating at your top level. And sometimes we have to just give ourselves a break when we don't.
Agree. Absolutely. I think so.
Before we wrap up, Jose, and thank you so much for taking time
Absolutely.
out of your schedule. I love this very loose conversational format. It's very different than what I'm used to doing. So I kind of am experimenting a little bit. So thank you for being a part of this. But there's a couple things before we wrap. If you want to go ahead and share with everyone how they can get a hold of you, where they can learn more about what you do, and also maybe your final takeaway for the audience.
Sure, absolutely. Anybody that wants to get into mobile home investing and or just connect with us, they can visit GarciaMobileHomeUniversity.com, short for GarciaMHU.com. I don't like to type too much, so the shorter version is better. Email, y'all can also email me directly at that's the letter J, at GarciaMHU.com. Nothing in life comes easy that's worth going after. So I always tell people, if it's hard and getting harder, you must be doing something right.
That's a good one. And that's so true. Thank you so much. I know that this is the end of a very long day for you. So I'm so happy that we were able to just book it, implement it, get it done. And I appreciate your time so much, Jose.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And I'll see you at the next event, I'm sure.
I'm sure we'll be there. Yes, ma'am.
All right. You take care and take care of your wonderful family. I get to see them on Facebook. So thank you so much, Jose.
All right. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye. And that pretty much wraps up this webisode from the ground up. I hope that you are able to take away some, nuggets of wisdom and tips that you could possibly incorporate into your life and into your business and into your wellness strategies. If there's nothing else, I hope that we're able to just open up your mind, because every guest that I talk to has a different perspective and a different viewpoint. And if one or several of them are helpful to you in your journey, on your, life journey, then I feel like I've done my job. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day or evening. And as I've said many times before, the transformational success starts with the truth from the ground up and from the inside out. I'm Carmen Milagro. This has been From the Ground Up, and I will see you next time. I wish you all a healthy lifestyle, much, much success as you build your wealth and maintain your health. Until next time, bye-bye.